On this episode, we turn to our AI overlords to see how ChatGPT and Gemini compare at answering questions about Bangkok.
So if you're curious about how much trust we can put into AI-generated information on specific topics, you'll dig this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 on a mission to convince the folks at immigration to allow me to wear a beer chang singlet in my photos, but I'm still waiting to hear back from them on the paperwork I submitted.
That would be pretty scary. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 23 years ago, fell in love with the dream of tom yum goong flavored potato chips that actually taste good. And I'm still waiting, so I'm still here. I never left.
Lay's has some straight-up mad scientists working on that stuff, man. Their flavors are pretty out there.
Dude, I think almost all localized flavors I hate. I'd have to really think about it. There might be some, like maybe some, I don't know, like it's something like Norway seaweed. That's not really Thai. That's not really local, is it?
No, I tried a somtam kind of thing a while ago, and it was all right.
Oh, geez. Really?
Yeah.
I'm a big thumbs down on all the local stuff. Right. I want the real thing, not the fake processed flavoring.
Yeah, I could just go outside and get an actual plate of somtam.
That's right. All right, we want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about service in fancy pants restaurants in Thailand and how the inflated prices don't always reflect the food, but rather the Western-style service you get. More musings on Lisa's music video for Rockstar, including a video by our pal Stu J. Raj for Thais to help explain what the English lyrics mean, as well as my explanation to a very unhip Greg for some of the fan theories about the music video's hidden messages. And in addition to our previous Bangkok transport triangle from a listener that takes into account how women in Bangkok must also factor in safety when finding a ride anywhere. To learn how to become a patron and get all this good stuff, plus full access to over 700 bonus and regular back episodes, click the support button at the top of our website.
Totally. And as always, if you have a comment, a show idea, or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com and click the little microphone button on the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we'll play on the show. We also recently added a little badge to the bottom right of the website with Willis Carrier, the patron saint of the Bangkok Podcast, who, of course, invented air conditioning. So hat tip to Willis Carrier. All right. On this episode, we are going to succumb to the inevitable march of progress and all the AI news that is blasting the internet every day. Now, it seems like there's nothing that AI hasn't touched recently, although we'll see how long that trend lasts. AI is helpful for a lot of things, but it's also surprisingly crap at other things, which you'd think would be fairly simple. Recently, Ed and I were comparing results for the same query between ChatGPT and Gemini and noticed that one of them gave us an incorrect answer to a fairly simple question. So we figured, let's put these generative AI engines to the test to see what they know about Bangkok and maybe a little bit about Thailand too. So we dialed up ChatGPT and Google's Gemini, posing the same series of questions to each one to see what they said. So Ed, AI is everywhere, man. It's just kind of all over the place. It's the soft power of the world. Thailand, sure. Soft power is everywhere, or in the world, AI is everywhere. How do you experience it all over the place? How deeply has it forced itself into your life?
It's funny. I just started using it more the last couple of weeks. So I'm a Google nut. I subscribe to all things Google, and so I signed up for Gemini. They had a package with Google Drive. Seemed to be a decent price. And so I've been using it more. Just for everything. I can go back and scroll through my previous searches, and it's really weird stuff. Like sometimes it's something that relates to work. So I teach different courses. Sometimes I just quickly ask Gemini something.
Right.
Sometimes I'm asking it about recipes. Really, I've been using it for a variety of stuff. So it's. I've noticed that it's weird. I don't know. What's it like for you? Sometimes the AI is clearly worse than just a regular Google search. It's kind of odd. So sometimes like the AI it almost like writes an essay and it's not really what I want. And then I go to Google search and I get the precise answer I want.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely not to the point where we can just blindly trust it yet. I'm still blown away by how many people do. And they just sort of copy and paste answers into documents or press releases or whatever. And it's like, really? You think it's that good yet? I think, one of the things I thought was so funny was how some teachers are sort of secretly handicapping their students is that like in the text of the question, they're like, so in this essay question, I want you to provide an answer for blah, 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 blah. And then at the very end or in between, they put in white text in a very small font, like, and also include the phrase monkey or something like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
So when it outputs the answer and the student just copies and pastes it, the teacher will just look for the word monkey somewhere in there. And they'll know that
that's pretty funny.
Will spit out by an AI. But I think, great. I think it's becoming so ubiquitous, and I think it's really good for generating like a prompt, like giving you an idea or a rough structure for how to continue. But beyond that, I think human ingenuity is still.
Well, dude, I think. Yeah. I think our examples are going to prove this. When I look at the answers you got with ChatGPT and my answers with Gemini, sometimes they're very different. So like you said, I think maybe the value of this right now is maybe for brainstorming. But man, you better double check. You better double check your facts.
Yeah, seriously. So we're just going to go through some of these things here. How many we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish questions here that we gave to each one. And I got ChatGPT, and Ed, you got Gemini, which was done by Google. So we're just going to go through them and read them and see what it told us about Bangkok.
Yeah.
All right. Let me take the first one then here. So the question we asked was this. Oh, we should also mention that we asked them the exact same question.
Correct.
Like the same words and same punctuation and everything. So the first one is, what years did Thailand use the red flag with the white elephant, and who designed it? So the correct answer is it was designed by Rama IV, and it was used between the years 1855 and 1917. So ChatGPT said Thailand used the red flag with the white elephant design from 1917 to 2017.
Ooh, brutal. Brutal.
The flag was designed by King Rajirudh Rama VI of Thailand. It features a red field with a white elephant in the center, which is a symbol of the Thai monarchy. So two things wrong.
That's brutal. That's terrible. Totally wrong. Oh my God, that's worse than I thought. Check out Gemini, dude. Thailand used the red flag with the white elephant in various forms from 1855 to 1916. Okay. So that's basically right. And then let's see. So from 1855 to 1916, designed by King Mangkut Rama IV. Mm-hmm. So essentially, looks like Gemini got it right.
Got it righter. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the ChatGPT was correct with what it is, but everything else about it was wrong, which is pretty stunning. Until 2017, that's crazy.
I mean, the only difference is that you said the correct answer was 1917, and Gemini is saying it was used until 1916. So it's pretty close. And
it should be noted, too, that I got that answer from Wikipedia, so Wikipedia itself might be wrong. But you know what? It always kind of bugs me when people say, oh, you can't trust Wikipedia. And I'm like, dude, have you ever tried to edit a Wikipedia article?
That's right.
No. They will be on you immediately if something is wrong.
In general, Wikipedia is pretty reliable. I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it's pretty reliable. Yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting.
So score one for Gemini, I think.
Yeah, totally. In that one.
Okay. Next one is very simple, straightforward. Is Bangkok a province of Thailand? Which is a famously kind of tricky question because most people, just the average schmo, would just immediately answer yes.
Right.
But what did ChatGPT have to say, Mr. Craig?
I put this in specifically for one of our buddies, Scott the Pedant, who is always arguing
Right.
about this. But ChatGPT said, no, Bangkok is not a province of Thailand. Bangkok is a special administrative area and is treated as a separate entity from the provinces. It is officially known as the Krungthep Mahanakhon, or simply Krungthep in Thai, which translates to City of Angels. While it doesn't have provincial status, Bangkok functions similarly to a province in many administrative matters.
Okay, which is essentially the correct answer.
Right.
And it looks like Gemini also got it correct. It says Bangkok is not a province in the traditional sense. It is a special administrative area with unique status. While Thailand has 76 provinces, Bangkok is considered a separate entity due to its significance, and as the capital and largest city, it combines the functions of a province and a municipality with its own elected governor and administrative structure. And then it says, however, for certain administrative purposes, Bangkok is often included in lists or counts, making a total of 77. So it looks like they both got this one right. They both crushed it.
They both did, but I think Gemini's answer is much more detailed and precise there. And we should also mention that some of these answers have been edited for clarity and length. Sometimes
we're not going to
this detail.
Yeah, we're not going to read the whole thing. It's funny because it's very common for Thai people to say that there are 77 provinces.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so this next one is an interesting history question, and the question was: did Japan bomb Bangkok during World War II? And ChatGPT says, yes, Japan did bomb Bangkok during World War II. On December 8th, 1941, shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Japan launched air raids on various locations in Southeast Asia, including Thailand, then known as Siam. Bangkok was bombed multiple times during the war, and Thailand eventually entered into a military alliance with Japan in 1941 to avoid further conflict and occupation. There you go.
Yes. Now, you and I discussed this. This was actually the topic that spawned this idea.
Right.
So we'll get into the truth in a second. So Gemini is going to give a different answer. Gemini says, yes, Bangkok was bombed during World War II, but it wasn't bombed by Japan. It was bombed by the Allies, primarily the British Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Forces. The bombing range started in 1942 and continued to the end of the war. And then it goes through a little more details. But essentially, Gemini is saying, no, Japan did not bomb Siam or Thailand. And you and I did a little bit of research on this. It's a little bit confusing. So I think ChatGPT is more correct. But when I dug deep on the links, I could only find them confirming that one bomb was dropped from like a Japanese plane.
Interesting. Only one, hey? Okay.
Yeah, well, I couldn't. I mean, there were statements saying like Japan bombed, and then there's all this military history stuff like with real deep detail on what was going on. And apparently, what happened is Japan. There was a semi-ground invasion for sure. There was a semi-ground invasion, and the Japanese Air Force threatened to bomb, and then almost immediately the Thai government said, "Hey, let's negotiate." So they didn't cut a deal like literally within 15 minutes, but immediately the Thai government was like, "Hey, hold off. Like, wait a second."
Yeah, I think the answer from ChatGPT did go to in a bit more detail, and basically it said they launched a couple of bombs, and then like a week later, Thailand was like, "Okay, all right, let's chat."
Yeah. So I think of small, at least what we could verify, a small number of bombs, like possibly just a single one or a few, were actually dropped by Japan. So right. I mean, it's a great example of how tricky history can be, because I think in general Japan didn't really bomb in any serious way, but
right.
technically they did drop some bombs.
When you say a country was bombed by Japan, you generally think like bombing raids by airplanes and stuff, not an airplane or a couple of soldiers with a mortar, but
correct,
I guess.
But if you're writing a history paper, you got to get it right.
Yeah, this stuff matters. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we got to give ChatGPT the nod for that one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, what's the next one?
Okay, next question. So different type of question. If I was driving in Bangkok, what's the best way to get from Emporium Shopping Mall to Icon Siam? So listeners, some of you probably know this, but Emporium is on Sukhumvit, near Sukhumvit 24, whereas Icon Siam is on the cool side of the river, not far from where Greg lives. So this is a simple direction question. So, Greg, what did ChatGPT have to say?
Well, ChatGPT spit out some surprisingly detailed instructions and directions. It says the best way to get from Emporium Shopping Mall to Icon CM in Bangkok depends on various factors such as traffic conditions or your preferred mode of transportation. Here are a few common options. And then it actually gives quite good directions for all of them. Taxi or Grab. These are readily available in Bangkok. Takes about 20 to 30 minutes. BTS SkyTrain. It tells you exactly what stations to go to. Drive. You can navigate via the roads. Gives good directions.
Did it give you an actual map? Like, did it link to a map or give you a map?
No, I didn't. I don't remember seeing that. I didn't ask specifically for that. Yeah. And it also gives you the bus option. But interesting, it says here, it says navigating the bus routes in Bangkok may be more challenging if you're unfamiliar with the city. It's generally not the most recommended option for visitors due to potential language barriers and complexities in the bus system, which is a very political way of saying it.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good answer. Now, Gemini has a much shorter answer. And I didn't know, I've never asked Gemini for directions before, but essentially it just links you to Google Maps, which has the route in there with step-by-step directions. So it's a very direct, yeah. So it can list it if you want to, but it essentially just puts the Google map. So if you type it into Gemini, it puts the Google map in the answer with the route like drawn in.
Oh, that makes sense because they're both Google products.
That's right. And then if you click on it, it just takes you directly to Google Maps.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so it says it is an 8.7 mile drive and takes about 25 minutes. But the interesting thing is it didn't list the other options. Now I think once you go to Google Maps, then you can then click if you're like, oh, I want to walk, or I want to, you could do that. But it basically just focuses on if you're driving. So in a way, I think Google, with having Google Maps, it might be slightly better if you want actual detailed directions.
Right. I think so. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to have to print them out. But that Gemini actually gives you like a resource to use.
That's right. But ChatGPT is actually a good discussion of different ways you could get there.
Yes. Yeah. And we should also mention too, it's funny because originally the idea for the show, we wanted to include Perplexity and Claude, both different chat platforms in this, but it got a bit too bogged down, a bit too long, so we cut those out.
Yeah, right.
And just made this between ChatGPT and Gemini. But I did want to point out the answer from Perplexity was interesting. It gave actually pretty similar to instructions to ChatGPT, but it did say that it would take 9 minutes to drive from Emporium to Icon CM.
Oh, geez,
way off.
That is not accurate. No way.
Yeah, no doubt. So the next one is a question from you, Ed, and it's pretty deep.
Yeah, a little bit. I was just curious what they'd have to say about a question about Thai culture.
Yeah. So the question was, what different ethnicities and cultures have influenced the south of Thailand? And ChatGPT says the south of Thailand has been influenced by a diverse array of ethnicities and cultures, which have shaped its unique identity over centuries. Here are some of the main influences. And then it actually gives quite a good summary of Malay, Thai, Islamic, Chinese, Indian, European, and local indigenous cultures and how they influenced Thai culture. And then at the end, it gives quite an interesting wrap up. It says these influences have combined to create a rich tapestry of cultures and identities in southern Thailand, making it a region with a unique blend of traditions, languages, and customs distinct from other parts of the country, which I thought was a very succinct summation.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good summary. And I just asked this question because we just got done talking about this with our previous guests, Paul and Jungrat Waddell. So let me see Gemini's answer. So it's similar. Southern Thailand has a rich and diverse cultural heritage shaped by a variety of ethnicities and cultures throughout history. The main influences include Malays, Thai Buddhists, Chinese, Indians, but then it mentions this, seafaring peoples, the Orang Laut, or which they also translate as sea gypsies. Now that's interesting. ChatGPT didn't mention them specifically, but it did say local indigenous cultures,
right,
which could be the sea gypsies. Now, I don't know much about the sea gypsies, but I knew that they were present in southern Thailand.
Yeah, it also mentions Gemini also goes into details on the Moken and the Mani as well. So they go deep into the local indigenous cultures as well. So they give a bit more detail there.
Yeah, So ChatGPT's answer is not bad, but Gemini might be a little bit more detailed. I'm a little bit surprised that they don't mention any Burmese or Mon influence.
Yeah,
'Cause
that is
I think that did come up when we were talking about the novels, written by Paul and Youngrod. So neither of them mention Mon or Burmese influence, but
Right.
I don't know much. I don't know much about that.
Well, ChatGPT says local indigenous cultures, but what does local mean? Like regional, or
Yeah.
like where does local end? I don't know.
Yeah. Not sure. They seem to be both pretty good answers, though.
I'd say that was a tie on that one,
Yeah.
roughly. Yeah.
All right. Next question. I'll do the next one. So it says, if you have only one night in Bangkok, what's the most fun thing you can do? One night in Bangkok, as the song says. What's ChatGPT got to say?
Well, this gives a fairly anodyne response, actually. None of them are wrong, but it's pretty standard stuff. It says explore the night markets, take a dinner cruise, visit rooftop bars, experience Thai cultural shows, nightlife on Sukhumvit or Silom, visit temples at night. And then it goes into details for each one of those things. It says visit Soy Nana and Cowboy and Pat Pong, which is interesting. See Muay Thai fight. It says enjoy a dinner cruise on the Chao Phraya River.
It's got a lot of options.
Yeah. Chatuchak, Road Phi, night market. So it does get specific in a couple of those things. But
Interesting. Gemini's answer is totally different, and there must be something different. Like I don't totally understand how these damn things work. Like I guess they're large language models, whatever the heck that means.
Right.
But basically, Gemini's answer is, with only one night in Bangkok, it's hard to beat the experience of exploring the city's vibrant night markets. So it essentially gives one answer. If you have one night in Bangkok, you should go to a night market. And then it talks about Asia Teak, Jod Fairs, and Changchui, where I've never been to Changchui. But it's interesting, whereas ChatGPT is like, well, here's 10 ideas.
yeah, right.
And Gemini's, if you got one night, go to a night market. It's kind of interesting.
I did find it interesting that ChatGPT said for nightlife, it basically says Nana, Soy Cowboy, and Pat Pong. And that was the only 3 places they recommended. And in my previous messing around with these kind of things, I found that these engines always err far onto the side of caution. And if you put anything like, where do I find a Thai prostitute or something like that, they'll say like, we can't answer this.
It won't answer. Right.
But I did find it interesting. Like there's a lot of places to enjoy nightlife in Bangkok, but the only 3 it gave you was the red light districts.
It's funny, I'm looking at the ChatGPT answer. I thought it just said Sukhumvit or Sealam, but it actually says Nana, Soy Cowboy, or Pat Pong.
Yeah.
That is pretty surprising. It specifically mentioned the red light districts.
Let me push the boundaries a little bit here and ask ChatGPT another sort of more spicy question. If I wanted a wild night in Bangkok, where would I go? And it says, if you're looking for a wild night in Bangkok, here are some popular areas. Khao San Road, Sukhumvit Road, rooftop bars, Tongla and Ekamai, nightclubs, and it gives some names of nightclubs, Levels, Insanity, C'est La Vie, and
fairly
live
safe.
music and shows. Pretty standard.
Pretty safe. Yeah, I think they've got guardrails on all of these. It's not going to get too crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And the last one we have here is pretty subjective, but we thought that the comparison was interesting. And we asked it, what is the best Thai movie of all time?
Great question.
Yeah, it's interesting. ChatGPT says, there are many great Thai movies that have received critical acclaim and are beloved by audiences. Choosing the absolute best can be subjective, but one of the most highly regarded Thai films is Ong Bak, Muay Thai Warrior, directed by Prachapinkao and starring Tony Jaa. It gained international recognition for its impressive martial arts choreography and introduced Tony Jaa as a major action star. Another notable film is Uncle Boon Mi, Who Can Recall His Past Lives, directed by Apichatpong Weerasethakul, which won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival and is known for its surreal and contemplative storytelling. These films showcase the diversity and talent of Thai cinema, catering to different tastes and preferences.
Interesting. Ong Bak and Uncle Boon Mi. It's funny. Gemini spit out 5 films,
Really?
and two of them are Ong Bak and Uncle Boon Mi.
Oh,
So
wow.
there is overlap. Gemini also picked Tropical Malady, which is another Apichatpong film, but it also picked Shudder, which is a Thai horror film from 2004, which I love. So I'm very glad that made the list.
Never watching that movie again. I'm still scarred by that movie.
Shudder is scary.
Scary.
It also picked P Mak, which is like the prototypical ghost horror comedy romance movie from 2013. I think it's the highest grossing Thai film of all time.
Really, the PMAC is.
Yeah, I think PMAC is.
Oh, wow.
That just was insanely big. It's about 10 years old now. But interesting that they put Ong Bak. Ong Bak is essentially Hong Kong action Thai style. It's like Jackie Chan. The Thai version of Jackie Chan or something like that.
Right.
But I like that movie. But I don't know. Is it good that that's on the list of best Thai movies of all time? What does that say about Thai movies?
I don't know. I recently watched a bunch of clips from Ong Bak online, and at the time it was absolutely groundbreaking when it came out. I guess it came out in 2003, so over 20 years ago. But it hasn't aged well. It's pretty
really?
rough around the edges in terms of how it looks and how it's directed and edited. But it's
interesting.
It's yeah, I don't know if it's one of the best films, but it made a ton of money when it came out. But it's so funny, like Ong Bak and Uncle Boonmi, you couldn't have two more different genres of films,
completely,
right?
totally different. Uncle Boonmi is weird and slow, and I mean meditative is a polite way to put it. I mean it's glacial, but it is interesting. Like it is deep.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But yeah, man, I kind of like those answers. But it just shows you how weird Thai cinema is that you get such a variety of answers.
Yeah. I like this experiment overall. And it's we're dealing with this AI now, and so much of it just goes on behind the scenes that normals like us will never know and never understand. And I don't know how it gets these answers or where it gets them from. There's a controversy right now about how all these GPT engines, are scraping websites even if they're not supposed to
Sure.
be, and things like that, and there's certain copyright lawsuits and stuff. But it's interesting also how it handles very subjective things like what's the best or what's the fastest or things like that.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, man, I mean, I think we have proven that you can't trust all the facts you get. In a way, I kind of like the subjective answers better, because I feel like all their subjective answers were reasonable.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
here's 10 things you could do one night in Bangkok, or here are 5 possible best films of Thailand. In a way, you're putting less of a burden on the AI because it doesn't have to get all the facts right.
Yeah. There's also a lot of AI written guidebooks online that you can buy, electronic and paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think we've just proven that is a complete waste of time. Like AI cannot write any reliable information about how to plan a trip. Stu from Travelfish often writes about this. Like, a lot of the stuff is just dead wrong, and you wouldn't want to.
It's just crap. It's not something you could trust.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to stake an important thing like a trip on stuff that an AI regurgitates to you. So, yeah.
Agreed.
But interesting little experiment, and I like AI overall. But like we said, don't trust it. You can't trust it, at least not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss to decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. And this week, Ed, I have a question for you.
All right.
Now, on our bonus show, we were talking about how a good friend of ours, Todd, he brought me a copy right here, an actual newspaper, a paper newspaper from Canada for me as a gift, which will be fun.
Incredible.
Fun to go through. And it was reminding me of a question when I'm looking, when I do happen to look at the Bangkok Post or even on the website. And it's got a thing like, there's a new thing in Thailand, a new thing in Bangkok, a new market, a new canal, a new shop, or whatever. And at the bottom of the newspaper story, you have what looks like a hand-drawn map. This drives me up the wall. What do you think about these hand-drawn maps? Does it bother you? Do you even notice?
All right, I know what you're talking about. So I think of these as like kind of lame attempts to customize or personalize a map. And yeah, the bottom line is these days we've got Google Maps, we've got like proper links you can make, which
Right.
and it's quite easy to create a link to Google Maps. So I'm gonna say I'm not sure I'm really passionate about it, but yeah, there's kind of no reason to hand draw or personalize or even hire an artist to do your own map. it's not going to be as good as Google Maps.
No, I absolutely loathe this. I'm kind of a map. I'm kind of a map nerd anyway. And a lot of these maps they put at the bottom, if they even do, a lot of times they don't even use a map, which also drives me crazy. But a lot of the times the maps are drawn like weird or they're off scale, and you can't like, what is that?
Right,
what does that say? And I'm like, just put a link for a Google Map, man. It's got it all. It's got all the names. It's updated.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like sometimes I think they're trying to be creative, but even if they're not being creative, like they're just being perfectly functional. A lot of times it'll have like 3 points on the map and the distances are all off.
Right. Yeah. I just want them to just put a Google Map in, man. They win. Let them do their thing. And, yeah,
I'm with you. I'm probably a loathe as well. Maybe not as passionately as you. I'm not a big map guy, but yeah, just use Google Maps.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy Chandler, the famous hand-drawn map lady that used to be very popular years and years ago in Bangkok, that was great. But I think that's a sort of
she did it right. Yeah, she's the exception. She did it right.
She did it right, but I would still rather just have a Google Map there, as much as she did some great stuff. But yeah, that's my thing. I'm a loathe on those.
All right, double loathe. A final thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website and connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Yeah, you can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that we'll feature on the show. I'm on Threads at BKKGreg, or on the Fediverse now at bkkgreg@threads.net. It's a new little thing they added there.
Cool.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you back here next week. I went down a rabbit hole the other day on YouTube looking at like tough guy movie scenes.
Oh, okay.
You know, like where like one guy stands up to a bully and totally dominates him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Puts him in his place. I got to say that my two favorite ones are from Tombstone, when Kurt Russell goes into the casino and Billy Bob Thornton, before he was famous, is this asshole.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
Dealer.
Great scene.
And then from Knockaround Guys, which was kind of not a very very awesome.
I've never
movie.
seen it.
Not a very great movie, but there's one scene where like some big tough guy in a small town bar stands up and starts throwing his weight around, and Vin Diesel steps in just when Vin Diesel was still like super cool and not before he was super famous. And it gives this great speech and an awesome beatdown. So that makes me realize what might happen if I was in that situation, but in actuality, I'd probably just cry.
Well, those are always like crowd pleasing scenes. Everyone loves a bully getting a beat down.
Okay.